Each and every religion prevalent in human society inculcates a distinct system of beliefs, emotions, and practice. Of science and religion, violation of humanity is occurring till date every day, and we find it in Palestine, Iraq, United States, Indonesia, Pakistan, and where not?
Welcome to Jadavpur University, all the respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, and other participants of this very important conference organized by the International Forum for Studies on Society and Religion. I am in fact privileged to be here and felt very happy when Professor Bhattacharya invited me to come to this to the inaugural session of this conference. There is a subtle difference to my understanding between education and learning. Education is imparted in a structured manner, through a structured syllabus, in a structured system, but learning you can have always through every means during our day-to-day existence. And that is why this lifelong learning term has become very important now, as we have to learn various things, various new things over our entire life.
We use the opportunity to learning from, there as we were talking about education or something, just years before. But I think we should think of, I think it's now already late for the countries, many countries, especially particularly developing countries, also try to implement some of these projects. Mr. Hamilton's effort in his, as you know, Sriniketan. Tagore, along with this Vishwavanati and all, Sriniketan was also his very effort to do something for the people who are in the agriculture, for farmer and all, to start implemented those. And on the request of Mr. Hamilton, he once visited Osaka. I was surprised when I read for that those years that it was so difficult to read Japan, some of them from Japan. But I feel that, I strongly feel that that we should try to build up a museum on their lives. Younger generation, they discuss about them on their lives, their contribution to the country. That way, and when they will growing young, boys and girls, they will their personalities and approach that will be possibly affected.
Namaskar and warm greetings to each one of you. It is indeed a privilege and an honor to stand before such a distinguished gathering at the International Conference on Education, Communication and Lifelong Learning. I bring with me the spirit of Indian Adult Education Association, an organization committed to the noble cause of fostering education and learning opportunities for adults, acknowledging that education is a lifelong journey that knows no age limits. Bloomficht's emphasis on lifelong education, Tagore's vision on education as a holistic and liberating force, and Paulo Freire's call for critical consciousness and empowerment are more relevant than ever. Their ideas are like our compass, guiding us in the direction of lifelong learning and holistic education. Let's not get lost into lofty theories. Instead, let us think about how we can bring these ideas to life in our day-to-day work. How can we make education a living, breathing force?
Only there was a time when Tagore was not Tagore. There was a time when Freire was not Freire. And there was even a time when Ashok Bhattacharya was not Ashok Bhattacharya. These people became the people they are in our understanding for many reasons. But these four personalities and myself have one thing in common. We have been intellectual travelers. Look upon Grundtvig. Grundtvig became Grundtvig as we know him because he spent 3 winters in Oxford. Tagore was the great traveler of them all. According to Wikipedia, he has in his lifetime visited 30 countries. And Freire had to leave Brazil to go to Chile, to go to the US, to go to Switzerland, to go to other countries. He was also an intellectual traveler. So my focus is about traveling. The first focus was about context. You have to analyze the context because you cannot take action without knowing the context. Implementation needs studies of context. I came with a scholarship and said, oh, come to Europe. Who would say yes and who would say no? First we asked, who would say yes if I come with a scholarship to you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oh! And who would say no?
Others? Time in Denmark in 1987, it was minus 15 degrees centigrade. And it is true that I had warm clothes, but I was not prepared for minus 15. And then, after 2 or 3 days of, I was in a landlady's place. She just showed me this is your room and all that. She did not know that I am a Dhakai Bangal. It's very difficult for me to find my ways. And I was writing to my friend, my best friend, that this is a lousy place, very cold. I am leaving within 3 days. Then Professor Ellis has very rightly pointed out, I met an architect from Mizoram. I met him the next Saturday. He in fact got my information from some other source. So he asked me to come to a place in Northport. There was at that point of time at Northport there was a shop, music shop. So he told me, come over here, I will meet you. That's the first time I met the gentleman. Then he took me around Copenhagen. Said, this is a nice place, you can take your food here. This is a nice shop, you can purchase here. This is a nice place, you can purchase your clothes. The Christian missionaries, they organize it, the price is low. And then he took me to his place, where he was staying in the hostel. And he cooked my food. That's the first time, I got a sumptuous, dinner over there. And from that time onwards, every day he invited me. And then he also arranged for me to go to that, hostel, where he was cooking and I was washing. It's true what Soren said. If you have a good accommodation, if you have good food, and a few good friends, but that you have to develop, you cannot have it immediately. Then, if you can learn from the foreign country. And I learned punctuality. I gave a person a time, 4 o'clock. You come to my hostel. And at 4 o'clock I went to other countries, like Asia also, to Bangladesh, Thailand, other places. I went to Bangladesh to work for 2 years. All my life I worked in this university. And then I went to Bangladesh, to head a department. I started the Department of Lifelong Learning at Asanya Mission over there. Anyway, may I have now the pleasure to request Professor Ashoknath Boshu. In fact, he is one of the builders of this university. The university got the highest ranking in India.
Professor Soren Ehlers. You see, Professor Ehlers, we came in contact with Denmark through our common friend Ashok Bhattacharya, and Denmark has been a friend of this university for now 35 years, and many other relations have been developed between Denmark and India because of the initiatives taken from the side of Denmark and also from the side of India. The felicitation of Mr. Gaur Krishna Bhattacharya, formerly Finance Officer, Jadavpur University. I am very happy to learn that he is being felicitated, and my association with Bhattacharya has been for last 15-20 years or something like that.
25 years, sir.
And he is a very difficult person, but always helpful. And during long 8 years of my being the Vice Chancellor of Jadavpur University, I never faced any problem with finance. Whenever and whatever adventure I was going on, finance officer always came for my help. Particularly, I remember the big World Bank project, which we could effectively execute because of the contribution of finance officer. I always call him FO. FO, how are you, etc., etc. And so, seeing that he is being felicitated, I am very thankful. Lastly, Medul is there. I believe my colleague for a long time has contributed significantly to the development of atmospheric science to this university. This is about and other distinguished guests, participants and speakers. I do not know the details of you, but I hope I will learn many things.
As an outsider, I can only add that I haven't met the partner. I have only heard about him, but I had known him earlier.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Because
Also, I also remember his predecessor.
Yeah.
He was a very tough person.
I am not going to speak at this time, and I request the speakers to present.
Up in that window, with the open window, is Kunpi. Kunpi is sitting up there in the window. So he's not taking part. He's not down there walking with them. He's not saying, oh, I want to claim for democracy. He's just looking down saying, what is going on? And the reason why he is skeptical, he's not just happy, he's skeptical, is that he has a skepticism towards the idea of just voting about things. Like, let's say we vote about things here, saying, well, vote about shall we have lunch or not have lunch. And some of you agree and some of you don't. Then there will be a minority. There will be a minority. What happens with the minority? And I think when we had a focus on this, well, what happens when you vote and there is a minority? What will happen afterwards? So voting is a part of democracy, but it's not all of it. Because there will be minorities. Every time you have a vote, there will be a minority. And I think that's the reason maybe, or that's how I interpret the image anyway, that he's up in the window. He's not taking part because he's both interested and skeptical. There's something difficult about the idea of a lot of people going together, agreeing on something, because there will be a few people who disagree. There will be a minority.
I would say I'm learning from Grundtvig all the time, and from this beautiful tradition from Tagore is respect. Respect for other people. And sometimes what nowadays is happening, we lose this respect. We lose this, we think we can say anything about another religion, and often what we do, we compare the best side of our religion with the worst side of another religion. So I think this respect for me is the key word, which I think Grundtvigian tradition is, however I understand, is teaching me. But thank you very much.
Can I just say, because people often say that, but it's a complex thing that's important. Respect and individual freedom. I think the complex thing is important.
I'm going to put it in the context of Martha Nussbaum's thinking, and I'm also going to focus on the question of sustainability, because democracy and sustainability are also two subjects that sometimes are conflicting and sometimes are working together. So, and I have a very old-fashioned paper with me. So, Nussbaum writes that related ideas have been central to the ideas of liberal education in India and other non-Western cultures. But what characterizes Socratic pedagogy? To give an example, Nussbaum writes about the case of Billy Tucker, a 19-year-old student in a business college in Massachusetts who was required to take a series of liberal arts courses, including one in philosophy. Interestingly, his instructor, Krishna Malik, was an Indian American, originally from Kolkata, familiar with Tagore's educational ideal. Students in her class began by learning about the life and death of Socrates.
This is a very interesting experiment that you are doing here, and it would be more global if we include our Indian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And we can, if in further research, we can have an Indian perspective, like what you are doing in Denmark, and we can collaborate with you, you know, so that it gets a global perspective altogether.
Yeah, because sustainability is a global issue. It's about global citizenship. So everybody has to deal with it if we want it or not.
Path of the Goldbrick education and their life. So, but thing is that how many schools are running in such a way with the Goldbrickian thoughts and ideas, and how many people, how many schools are running as formal schools with the support of the government and public aids.
Ingrid is the expert on Grundtvigs folk high school, so she knows the number of the Grundtvigian school.
Because I have been
I could answer for that.
Okay.
Sir, there's 400 folk high schools in Scandinavia, and when we connect it to the world, we are talking about, there was a Danish study that pinned down 700 schools that were joined to the Grundtvigian idea. So that's the folk high school movement. And then, like in Norway, 10% of the young people every year goes to the folk high school. So it's a pretty big influence on the society.
Now I challenge you a little. Please reflect about interdisciplinarity, because if we move away from children's education, youth education, look upon higher education, the humanities and the arts are cut down all over the world.
Yes.
So what you are saying here is to do things the right way in the schools, we have to work in an interdisciplinary way. So we have to merge the disciplines together to get a holistic view. And at the same time, we are seeing that the humanities are becoming smaller and smaller as fields in the universities. Language is an example that the languages are slowly disappearing completely. It would soon be a problem in Denmark to find teachers who are able to teach foreign language in the schools. So the challenge is the good things and the bad things about interdisciplinarity.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And Nussbaum, the whole point of Martha Nussbaum's book, Not for Profit, Why Democracy Needs the Humanities, is actually to fight a little fight, because after she published the book, so many people were interested in this book, because a lot of countries have this experience that the humanities are really cut down a lot.
I request Dr. Johan Lovin, the Associate Professor, University of Southeastern Norway, to come to the dais and please present.
No, I would say something more about the change first. I think the change is global, like we say. It affects all of the world. I think the crisis of the climate crisis is a very good picture, an example of that. We can no longer discuss the problem of Bangladesh or India or the islands in the Oceania without looking at the whole world. We belong together, and the way the climate is changing, even the record cold in Norway, where the climate change affects that way, it affects us all. And we all have to cooperate and think together. So my job has been to take the ideas of, I'd say very short words about myself. I have been a folk high school teacher in one of these schools in Norway for 20 years, which means living very, very close to 19, 20-year-olds. Because in Norway, the students of the folk high schools are very closely connected to the period between secondary education and university. So it's a kind of a, you could call it a gap year, but it's not a very good term. It sounds like you're free and you're not free. But in that time, I really fell in love with the Grundtvigian pedagogical ideas. But also I see that what was written about Grundtvig and about the ideas of the folk high schools were mostly historical. And I thought we need to plant these thoughts in today. We need to find ways of talking about these so that people understand what's happening here, so that we can explain it to the politicians. The folk high schools are expensive. We need funding, and there's always a discussion. In Sweden right now, the government is critical and they are talking about pulling away finances. It could very easily destroy the folk high school movement in Sweden. So it's important to be able to talk about it, but also to understand ourselves, and of course to renew ourselves, to meet new students in new times. So I have thought, how can I do that? And I started as the first person in Norway to take a PhD on the learning processes of the Norwegian folk high schools. And you can find all of my publications, they're on ResearchGate, and you also have my name there. So if you Google my name on ResearchGate, it's all electronic, you can find all of it there. I will also put some books up. The folk high schools, when I try to find a word for what is happening, I call it a boundary-oriented pedagogy. Because one of the ideas, and one of the main ideas in this learning theory, and I'm sure many of you have heard the use of boundaries. We do it as a social group, but also as a private person. I have boundaries, I have placed an area where I'm safe, and a boundary-oriented pedagogy would move myself close to those boundaries. And Wenger says, learning is intensified as you get closer to the boundary. As you dare to move out of your comfort zone, like Søren said, that's where you actually learn. That's where the negotiation is intensified, and that's why that young person could say, now I'm working much more today than I did in my secondary school, because even if I don't study books in the way I did, I have to negotiate my identity. It happens all the time. For this happening, will probably also grow in the rest of the world as young people try to find themselves in times of great trouble. And what is my big favorite thing with the folk high schools is it actually hits the point. It helps these young people to negotiate their identity. It makes a safe haven where they can become democratic people, not disappearing out into one of the new, easy to buy America First or whatever, stupid, mind-demolishing. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that. That wasn't great. It wasn't theological, but some of them are new political ways of thinking that are coming. But to think for themselves, stand for themselves, and I say to my students, you don't need to vote for me. Don't believe what I believe. You have to find your own way. You have to learn to think for yourself. That's the only way you can survive in society, and actually, that's the only way society can survive as a democratic society. Thank you very much.
Freedoms, like the song that I mentioned was written one of after of this not successful uprising, but the people also tried to build Polish identity through poetry, literature, songs, art. For example, this painting, in 19th century when Impressionism was really in fashion, this most famous Polish painter, he was painting only very realistically Polish successes, Polish victories, just to keep the hearts up. And also there was a lot of so-called organic. So finally, the name which we use in Poland is Folk or People University. It's a little bit confusing because even recently we have an Ukrainian who came to us and I was explaining him it's not a real university. But we use this name because universitas, it means community of learners, teachers and students together, like it was mentioned today. We also learn from our students. So I thought the name is beautiful. Then I was moving from Warsaw to the village, to my husband's farm, and I thought I have to do Polish folk high school. This is the purpose, this is my mission. So I started with simple courses for local people from 2001, mainly women. They were more actually open-minded to join such a course. And we had medical folk high school with long courses which last 2 years. But dormitory learning is only 100 days. And we now have the 5th course. And we do a lot of learning by doing. And we have a main topic. The main topic is organic farming and agroecology, but we do a lot around. We do a lot of discussion, a lot of debates. And also, maybe you don't see so much on this picture, but maybe on some other pictures, it's actually people, the youngest are around 18, 19, and the oldest are above 60. So when they live under one roof, there is a lot of peer learning between them, also in a sense of life and experiences. This year, last year we started also short courses. And it's short, it means between 1 week to 4 weeks, where the people could come and they can learn how to teach about biodiversity or climate education or organic gardening, community-supported agriculture, social farming, about wild pollinators.
Your background in Poland and your practical work at the folk high school which you have raised respect.
The assembly, previous use assembly, self-care, music sessions. Next step. News and views. Meeting and selling diyas. Gardening, grooming, and counseling. And celebrate the special occasions.
When we provide person-centered approach, means when we see this adults has some ability to interest in gardening or grooming or crafting, we emphasize to and train them properly if she has or he has ability to cope and to build some knowledge or skills for his life.
All these religions, there will be the best part, or even you can do the research otherwise. These religions managed to survive when so many other religions disappeared. What could be the reasons? That would also be a wonderful study in that side. If you see, the most of the thing is that these things go beyond all these dissimilarities to touch upon the truths, beautiful aspects, and they try to answer in the form of script or in some other. Not even see this, but if you see that, I have given, thank you sir. Right, in Christianity, guidance, Hinduism, devotion, Islam seeking guidance, like Buddhism, self-discipline, compassion, and Sikhism, like for divine guidance. So if you see in these major religions, the key words that I have mentioned have been given a lot of emphasis, and That is something what people have to really love to talk about and love to discuss about. And
religious life in India has been mukti, liberating one's soul from the grip of aham, that is ego, is communion with the universal infinite soul. This religion or spiritual harmony is not a theological doctrine to be taught as a subject in classrooms, but it is truth and beauty of our very existence, our conscious relation with our surroundings.
Of course, this is an important part of the Scandinavian society. We have a study that I think should have been more, for the Danish people here, we should talk more about it. In the 1960s, there was a study how many of the parliament members in the Danish, Swedish and Norwegian parliament had their main education from the folkhögskolor. Because the idea of Grundtvig was that, as you heard earlier, to have democracy, we have to have a learning of the common people. So the schools were open for the common people, for everybody, and we see that between 15 and 20% of the parliaments in Scandinavia, the parliament members had this background. So they were simple people, not simple, but you understand what I mean. They were common people, that they were the folk, the people that had their education through the system and actually ended up in the government. The same thing can be seen in the US, where Highlander Folk School, that Horton, who started that, came to Scandinavia, was very inspired by meeting the folk schools, brought the idea back to the US, and Martin Luther King, Rosa Parker, and the leaders of the emancipation movement in the US, they went through Highlander, and that was the basis for the march to Washington. They started there, and that is also maybe one of the big democracy movements in the world that I think affected us all. And actually Barack Obama had, I should have shown you that, but it's on YouTube, I can give you the link. A copy of the book and also an article on religious education in the folk high schools. You can have, this is for free, and this is yours to give to somebody.
Cultural and national identity. Regarding this, Grundtvig emphasized the importance of preserving and promoting cultural and national identity through education. He believed that education should contribute to a sense of national pride and strengthen the cultural bonds that tie a community on. So the very much common points are there. First of all, though their philosophical roots were different, like N.F.S. Grundtvig was rooted in Christian theology and idea of a harmonious society based on shared values, whereas R.M. Tagore's philosophical roots infused with the philosophy of universalism and a belief in the interconnectedness of all cultures. But their common points were, like, they both of them emphasized on the holistic education.
Happy to learn so many things, and emotional factors are included in the traditional systems, education system. And the second speaker is the Dr. John. It's a networking. This is very much essential in the context of this is the Frog High School. This is not in the Frog High School. This is networking is a very important factor at this stage. The networking is very strong. Then we can achieve everything. And this is sir already submitted one books. This is your very the non-related folk in high school teachers, identity, work and education. Obviously, I will read through the books. And very nice.
Very popular dance drama, Balmiki Pratibha. Balmiki's story may be knowing very relevant to this jail inmates. The Balmiki Pratibha, it was unbelievable before this stage under his leadership and under the contribution. So when the boss, I remember, he invited me when they all picked in this rehearsed to that program. He invited me before it was staged outside the jail. I was invited for them to go and see after their rehearsals were over, after number of marks. I was surprised seeing them. I said, remember the environment. This is inside the jail. Other prisoners were all in the first floors. They were all waiting. They were watching from there. Inside the jail system, the ground was like focus was there, and they were performing after the final rehearsal of the Valmiki Pratibha. And he created furore in the entire country. It's a new, experience of the people of the country. And this team, I still remember the Mr. Nigel Bukhara, who played the role of Valmiki. I think he's from Kerala, and he was a student of St. Xavier's College. And he was, as I told you, the prisoner inmate there. And then how, this is one of the great contribution one could do that's done by Mr. Sharma and this Honorable Roy. And this Valmiki Pratibha became so popular in the entire country. They were invited in Delhi, in Rashtrapati Bhavan, in Parliament, and they were being invited during Puja days in Bombay. And people were surprised seeing how it's possible. And Valmiki story is also very similar to this the story of this dance drama.
In fact, in Valmiki Pratibha, he was the singer.
আপনি কেটেছে আপনার মূল না জানে সাঁতার নাহি পায় very depressing fact is that the prisoners, the under trial prisoners, they constitute almost 2/3 of the prison population. That means only about 1/3 of the prison population, the people staying there, have been proved guilty by law, but in the courts, and 2/3 are yet to be proved guilty. Now, it's a huge kind of injustice. And because of that, and most of the under trial prisoners, they think they are innocent. Even if they know they might have done something, but since they have not been proved guilty in the court, they always take this plea that they are innocent. যায় ভেসে ডোবে বুঝি শেষে স্রোতে যায় ভেসে ডোবে বুঝি শেষে করে দিবানিশি টলমল extensively all over the country. They go into depression, all kinds of mental ailments, apart from the physical suffering which they undergo and their families undergo outside in the open society, the mainstream society. আমি কোথা যাব কাহারে শুধাবো নিয়ে যায় সবে টানিয়া একেলা আমারে পেলে যাবে শেষে একেলা আমারে পেলে যাবে শেষে অকুল পাথারে আনিয়া they are earning so much of money, and then I started using this fund for the welfare activities for themselves, for prisoners, their children, because the children also used to suffer, as I mentioned. So we used to give money, I used to give money out of the prisoners' welfare fund for the prisoners' education, for the children's education, for various. I remember Ayla had happened. Apunar bhare mori je apuni kapiche hridoyo inobo. Aspects of education, Tagore and the gentleman had emphasized. So that we were doing the same thing in the jails. We were giving them formal education, we were giving them informal education, we were giving them physical education. They were participating in sports, they were participating in tournaments. They were various other forms of arts. I remember I started an art gallery in Alipur Central Jail, which is now a museum. Now that is beautiful. It was established by Birla Academy of Art and Culture for me on my request. They did it up, and we used to have massive exhibitions where outside, painters, all the renowned painters of Calcutta, they used to come and they used to sit with the prisoners, paint with them. We used to sell those paintings. And the money part of it used to go to the prisoners' welfare fund, a part to the artists himself. Very important part. All these activities I'm talking about, cultural activities, music, drama, dance dramas, recitation, abriti, all these things are also part of the art improving, things are changing, a beginning has been made, and that beginning was made in West Bengal. That way we must be proud of this fact. And when I used to go to Delhi and to participate in various programs, in various conferences, even the Supreme Court judges and the High Court judges from different states, they used to all praise and only praise, West Bengal, Sagore tirete boshiya pan kore shudhu hola hol tumar kotha hetha keho to bole na kore shudhu miche kola hol.
Sir, for Rabindra Sangeet. And as Rabindranath says, if God has so wished, He would have made all Indians speak with one language. The unity of India has been and shall always be a unity in diversity. Many languages, a tapestry of many cultures, languages, ideas. It's like we call it a 7-string bean. It's a very rich musical instrument which can play beautifully in unison, actually, beautiful harmony. So that is what Tagore said, and I feel that underlying this statement, actually, the key word is inclusion. And to go to another philosopher, the next slide, we do the child, Paulo Freire. The next slide. So this is again another philosopher who is very close to most of our hearts who work with education, in the area of education. And Paulo said, no one can be authentically human while it prevents others from being so. And we must also remember, we have most of us have read his Pedagogy of Operation, and we know that he said that to be a teacher means that a teacher cannot be neutral, and in case of injustice, if you fail to take a side, then actually you are failing it. So for him again, inclusion is the key one. When I joined the corporate sector and I went to visit Indian Institute of Cerebral Palsy to get some greeting cards. So, it's as simple as that. And then I got drawn to the children and to the people, actually. People like Dr. Sudha Paul, who is a life changer. So I met them, and when I realized that what can be done really, I thought that it's better to use my whatever little expertise I have. It is better to invest in that area of work, and that is how that was in 1989. And from then on, I have been working with IICT, and I have learned from my children. They are the gurus, and I have learned from them.
Here, our students have used chat book initially after coming to the classroom. On these early learners, they have used chat books in the classroom. Message card also, they have used those who can communicate using only one word. They have used a message card to communicate their basic needs. We have used a visual schedule also. Next. Here see, the schedule has been represented using objects and pictures so that the students who are at the object level will be able to communicate using the objects, and the students who are in the picture level, they will be able to communicate using the pictures. Most of the time we use words also in the schedule. That means it will be in the 3 level with object and pictures and words will be there in the schedule, so that the students who are in the object level will use objects to know the schedule of the classroom or to communicate with the teacher, and those who are in the picture level will use pictures, and those who are in the word level, they will use word. Next. Message card. Again, this also we have used in the classroom. Next. These are simple communication boards that we have used in
To identify challenges and barriers faced by students, including physical and mental issues. Our second objective is to investigate how institutions provide support to disabled students and their comfortable levels within the institution. Third objective is to the teaching methods and evaluation of disabled students. And our fourth objective is to assess the institution's awareness of programs and policies for disabled students and how they impart the information among students and also their parents. And our last objective is to create awarenesses and influence stakeholders to prioritize the and invest in inclusive education. So next slide, Deepali please.
Organization at North Bengal University, they have a very wide and flexible structure. Yes. And so therefore, as you mentioned, Professor Bhattacharya would know, he must have immediately got that this can be a good collaboration. So I suppose that is very good. Just also like to add that I had started developing some interest in this area, but then I have always been a very poor student, so did not do much. So when I was Pro Vice Chancellor of IGNOU, long time back, 17, 18 years back, but I was in charge of the schools that was dealing with this aspect, and a whole lot of initiatives that was built up in Yadavpur and in other places that was integrated into the IGNOU structure, and I suppose that has only now further enriched or strengthened. But here in our university, I have a complaint. Complaint is that Professor Bhattacharya and his team, they have been running a very good program, which is quite well known at the India level. But here in the university, you must associate other faculties and departments also in your program. So I suppose that will be good. Though please don't add me, because as I said, I am quite a poor student.
Professor Rupukash Misro is...
Do that. We two are there. Two partners in criminal. One is away out of fear. Basanta. Reading of all the collections of Tagore's poetry from 1882 to 1941. It's an ocean to swim and sink, basically die. You won't finish it. We have taken the trouble. Has resulted in mapping out the phases of Tagore's poetry, poetic journey with the death. So he started his journey right from the beginning when he was 21 years old. Just at 21, he figured out, or he just dealt with the theme of death in his poetry. Phase 1, from 1882 to 1914. That's where the real hoo-ha of the drama takes place.
Realizes his or her religion in a particular way. A Hindu realizes it in a certain way of appearing in front of the deity which he or she thinks the god. In the same way, a Christian or Muslims pray in the church or mosque to come closer to God or Allah. And when a person converts, the prayer goes to God as name in that religion. Thus it becomes clear that all religions refer to a supreme being who can be attained by prayer. This the great Ramakrishna said, Jato Mot Tato Pod, which means that you can realize God in whichever way you pray. Thus God is universal. You may name it in different way. This is the seat of universal religion.
From his village, in the river, there was a storm. He was coming by boat, and there were three. As was a storm, everybody started worshipping their god. One was worshipping that Allah, that the boatman. He was Allah. He is being a mountain Allah. Another Vaishnavite Vishnu. Another Shivite Shiv. So when ultimately the storm stopped, everybody said it is because of my God.
Yes.
That Allah. And he said, what is it? I will tell in Bengali. একই পুকুরের জল বিভিন্ন জনে বিভিন্ন ঘাট থেকে নিয়েছে. So means the water belongs to the same pond. They have taken from different ghats, means different places on the bank. So it means that all religions are same. He is probably the most secular person that way. That's precisely I wanted to add, and probably it is time to talk about Ramakrishna Paramahansa.
Vivekananda composed a song, I embrace you with all my being. Handana bhava vandana jaga bandhana banditama niranjana nararupadhara niranjana nararupadhara nirguna gunaman. Vivekananda further says, if there are 20 forms of religion in the world, it is very good. If there are 400, so much be better. There will be more to choose from. The concept of Jivan Devata is ingrained in the Kirtan and Baul song. It also expresses the Sufi spirit of realizing God. Tagore refers to it as my dear one, Monir Mani. Now, Gunvik also gave priority to humans than to one's religion. He said, first a man, then a Christian. Therefore, we see that Vivekananda, Tagore and Gunvik is honored, says, and envisioned humans as the highest form of being. Thank you.
We will take any questions.
By creating a mutually enjoyable environment, connect intergenerational perceptions and communication, and eventually contribute to improving the well-being and the quality of life, and relieving the loneliness experienced by many of the elderly people and the children in a combined orphanage home and the old age home atmosphere, and to create a folk high school model for the upliftment of the Santha tribal children. We initially focus on the tribal children, so that if we can implement that, because all the political issues and all the this formal school system, these are already there, but we will try to parallelly start like this Shagur, they have started. So we will try to do like this parallel, any kind of scientific, this experiment-based thing. We will try to start a science club or something like this. The mission of this SAP is short-term mission is to develop daycare center for local children and elderly people with special reference to the local Santha tribal people. Healthcare center, to generate a healthcare center where free homeopathy treatment will be given. We have already started that free homeopathy treatment every Saturday. Then free eye experimentation or cataract surgery. Then free painting class, free spoken English class, free music and the dance classes. And long term, if the fund permit, if we can arrange everything, then it would be a full-fledged orphanage and old age home integrated program, where there will be the prayer places also, and all the this agriculture thing also. I will take help from Sir Amoles Sir to how we can initiate that. And then the education for all, because as Rikia has already mentioned that lifelong learning can be the solution for the active aging, and obviously the
aging is associated with various changes like biological, physiological, psychological, social changes and functional changes. And here the term active aging comes next. To make these changes positive. As per World Health Organization, active aging is the process of optimizing opportunities for health, participation and security in order to enhance quality of life as people age. So here the term participation is very much important. Participation refers to social, cultural and civic activities, and lifelong learning is essential to facilitate such activities.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. We, in fact, you'll be surprised, we do it 3 times a day. First, there's a morning team that comes. It's a morning, early morning. So the mothers who are, we call it happy singles. You know, those who have little one, children, they come 12 o'clock. So the morning of just 5 minutes.
5
The
minutes.
morning one is just 5 minutes.
Prayer, meditation.
Yes, just prayer and meditation. We sit in silence and we just have one bhajan. And the maximum takes 5 to 6 minutes. That's all. The morning one. The afternoon one, everyone answers because they has joined a number of times. The afternoon one, the other mothers with little ones and most of them come in the afternoon. So that stretches 10 to 12 minutes. Because let us go for spontaneous prayers. So each one wants to say her prayer and we listen and we sing a bhajan and we recite maybe a psalm of protection and addressing to the Father, Ishwar, Prabhu. We don't say any name of any god or goddess.
Professor Vidul Bose, he will be the coordinator, and we have our secretary, Professor P.I. Palit, who will, in the beginning, who will conduct some very important things. She would ask for comments and suggestions from the participants.
For me, it would be very interesting to hear more about some critics about Tagore. Is it possible to find that? And what is it, if there are? And how? What do you think about the way that the politics are evolving? One of the speeches was speaking about how to the new laws about how to focus more on moral education in school, for example, and maybe taking more of the tradition. What do you think about those?
Listen to. So, but thank you so much. It's been great. Yeah.
And start something, as he said, a folk school or something. Come up.
Very, very good.
I really would. We have to work out and think of ways of that.
Swami Vivekananda, but behind him the man is Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So probably going forward, we should bring in such personalities. Ramakrishna Paramahansa is quite difficult because he has not written anything. So, and the probably only reference is Kathamrita, written by somebody else. And I don't know so how it may be quite difficult, but if it is possible, as time passes away, it will be still more difficult. That's what. And besides him, probably, as I indicated yesterday also, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, I am talking from the Indian and particularly Bengal perspective. Raja Ram Mohan Roy or Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar were not explored that much even here in this.
Focus on the three great scholars and an introduction in depth to all three of them, and and also the perception or the reception of the three.
Were in the university, but outside the university system now. But you are still in the university system.
No, we have
so we need your help.
My suggestion is to include young researchers, researchers or teachers of the university into our fora, so that we can that issue has been raised that young generation should also be given chance to include. Right. So in the forum we can have a certain other discussion on the issue that.